Hi, this is Joe with Prep Agent. I'm here with my new friend Charles. How's it going, Charles?
Hello, Joe. Everything's going good.
You nervous for your exam?
Not really.
There you
Just,
go.
yeah, just want to get it done.
Just part of the process, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so part of that process is also learning some concepts, which I'm going to help you out with today. Sound good?
Sound good.
Okay, you listed a bunch of topics to go over, and you listed the most fundamental one. So we're going to start there. And the most fundamental topic that everybody should know before they start studying is real property. Do you know what real property is?
Yes, it is basically the way I've been doing is just sticking to the keywords
Okay.
or trying to put things with keywords so it's more in, immovable.
What's an example of real property?
I would say example of real property. I would say a house
Perfect.
that cannot be moved.
Okay, so a house is the most classic example, but unfortunately, that's a little too easy. They're not going to make it that easy for you on your exam, but that is a
Right.
great example. Think of it this way: real properties, anything that goes with the real estate. Okay,
Okay.
it
Anything
runs
that's
with the land.
attached. Okay.
Well, there are things we'll go over in a second that are not always attached. Like sometimes there's certain rights involved, and that's where it gets a little trickier.
Okay.
Okay, so it's
All
not
right.
always attached, and we'll go over that in a minute. What's personal property?
Personal property is, I want to say like a trade, well, it's movable,
Good.
almost like
So
a trade fixture.
now it's important when you say movable, we put
Hmm.
this word in front of it. Let me get my spelling right. Uh, generally.
Okay.
Okay. Why is it important I put generally movable?
In other words, usually if it's something that's simple that can be moved, uh, generally it's personal property.
Well, the reason I do that is because there's always exceptions. Okay.
Okay.
And generally means usually it's movable, but not always. When you study for your exam, you got to be careful of words like always, never, what I call these absolute words.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean by absolute? I will always do it. I will never do it. I can't do it, or those kind of things. Um, you need words like usually, sometimes, maybe, those kinds of words.
Okay.
Okay? So
Yeah.
we'll go over some of those exceptions in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at this. Is a lease personal or real? And that's what I mean it's a little trickier because it's not these you were thinking movable and immovable and these really highly tangible things, correct?
Right. Right.
Okay, but a
At least,
lease
at least can be both personal and real. Am I correct?
could be, but generally they're personal property. These leases typically are contracts with people, not the real estate.
Right.
Now, can you write things differently? Sure. And the way I like to remember this is a lease is a piece of paper. Is a piece of paper movable?
It is. Yes.
So think of it that way. So a lease is personal property, but the technical definition is the lease is a contract with a person, not the property. That's why I said it's important to remember it this way. Real property goes with the real estate. Personal property goes with the person.
Okay.
So people like that movable, immovable thing
Right.
because it's more visual, it's
Right.
more tangible, but it's not always accurate. And that's why I said that's a general rule. It's not an absolute.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay, good. What's a fixture?
A fixture, a fixture is something that is attached, like I guess if you have a barber shop,
Hmm.
the barber chair, it's a fixture because it's attached to the floor.
It's a special type of fixture, isn't it?
It is, yes.
What kind of fixture is that barbershop chair?
It's part of the business.
Let's hold that thought for 1 second. You're getting ahead of me. So
Okay.
fixture, first and foremost,
Mm-hmm.
is personal property that has become real property.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's use some more common examples. Okay? In the home you live in, are there any fixtures?
Yeah, you have a lamp, or you have a ceiling. I guess it could be like a ceiling fan
Perfect. That's a great example. Why is that ceiling fan a fixture?
because it has become part of the home. It's
Right.
attached, right?
No, you're perfect. You're doing great. So a ceiling fan is a fixture, and this goes back to my definition before, personal property that has become real property. You
Mm,
attached it, correct?
right. Right. That's correct.
Now, there's a way to remember something's a fixture. Do you know the memory technique?
Yes, it was the Maria.
There you
Uh,
go.
yeah, the method,
Here,
adaptability.
here,
Uh,
here we're gonna write it down so we can.
okay.
Okay, so you were saying it. Okay, let's go. What do you got? What's the M stand for?
Okay. Method, adaptability. I want to say relate. Uh, yeah, relation.
Relationship,
Yeah, relationship. I can't remember the last two.
intention,
Intention. Okay.
and last one's the easiest.
Attached.
Nope.
No.
In every contract, what do you have? I mean, what's the point of a contract?
The point of a contract is to get the
Agreement.
agreement. Yeah.
Yeah, to kind of agree on something, right?
Yep. Hmm.
So, fixture, what's the test? Read them out loud for me.
It's the method, uh, the adaptability, relationship, the intention, and agreement.
Good. So now, is a fixture personal or real property?
It is a fixture. It oh, is personal property.
Nope. What do we say happened to that ceiling fan in your house?
Oh, it's real property because once it's you can't take it with you.
Good. So this is the method of attachment. Okay? And for
Okay.
that reason, your ceiling fan is a fixture. It's real property. Okay?
Mm, yes.
All right. So fixture is real property. But you mentioned a barbershop chair. What kind of fixture is that?
That would be more of a trade fixture.
Boom. Perfect. Is that personal or real property?
That's personal property.
Why? Because that if I know a barbershop chair, those things are attached to the ground as much as anything could possibly attach, correct?
Yes, you are correct.
So why is it personal property?
Because if you say if that owner is going to move to a different location, they can actually take that chair with them.
That is perfect. Now, this is why it's so important when we went over real property, the definition of personal property, if you remember that, why I said
Yeah.
generally movable and generally
Mm,
immovable. Because you just gave me an example of something that is immovable, but you just told me it's personal property.
right.
So you see why that immovable, movable thing could be dangerous sometimes. Because as you just saw, you gave me a great example of something that's immovable, but it's personal property.
Okay. Yes.
And you remember my definition was what? It goes with the what?
Your
Personal.
definition. Personal property.
Yeah, personal property goes with the person.
Person, right.
Yeah, personal property goes with the person. Real property goes with the real estate. Okay? And you see
Okay.
how that works with your example there?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so I kind of
Right.
like that definition. Everybody likes to say immovable, movable, but you see that definition's a little bit flawed. It works generally speaking, but you got
Right.
to know the exceptions. One of the exceptions is a trade fixture.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sound good.
All right. Moving right along. Here we go. Contracts.
Okay.
Okay.
hmm
Before you talk about contracts, you have to know the four essentials. What are the four essentials to a valid contract?
Well, essentials, are you talking about the valid, avoid, or
Nope.
avoidable?
Mm-mm.
No?
There's
For
four
essential.
essentials to make a contract a contract.
Oh, oh man, I got to think. For
You want me to help
essential.
you with it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, first off, do you have to agree?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Can I hire you to kill somebody, like murder, some horrible act? Can I hire you to do that?
You could. I wouldn't advise it, but you could.
Would that be a contract?
It would.
No, it would not.
Ah.
Because it's lacking one of the essentials. Why can that not be a contract?
Well, you have to have some type of written agreement or something.
Nope. So my
No?
contract to kill is
hmm
actually not lawful. So you have to agree. It has to be lawful. Okay.
hmm
Do you have to be of sound mind and body to enter a contract?
Yes, you do.
Yes, you have to be capable, and
hmm
there has to be consideration. So you got them right here. Do you see them?
Oh, yeah.
So mutual consent, lawful object, consideration, capable parties. So you have to agree. It has to be lawful. I can't hire you to do an illegal act, like go murder somebody or something horrible like that. Okay, that's not legal.
Right.
Okay, so no court would recognize that contract.
Right.
There has to be consideration. Does consideration have to be money?
No.
No. It could be as simple as a hug. It could be love and affection could be consideration. It's whatever you agree upon. It doesn't have to be money. Okay? And capable
Okay.
parties. You have to be of sound mind. Um,
Right.
did you ever see that movie Million Dollar Baby?
No, I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, it's a great movie. You got to see it.
No.
Well, point
Okay.
is, there's a scene at the end where she's basically out and they're just using her hand to sign because she's like unconscious. Like she's not a
Okay.
capable mind, right? You can't just
Mhm.
basically take somebody while they're sleeping and just sign their name there. Right.
Right. Right. Okay.
Maybe not the best example, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Okay, so mutual consent, lawful object, consideration, capable parties. You mentioned something else, writing. Do all
hmm
contracts have to be in writing?
No, they can. It could be a verbal agreement.
Perfect. Okay, writing is not a essential of a valid contract. People get this wrong all the time because good business practice says put in writing. And almost all contracts need to be in writing. Almost. Not all of them, but almost. Okay?
Okay.
There is a type of real estate contract that does not need to be in writing. Do you know which one that is?
It doesn't have to be.
That does not have to be in writing.
No, I don't.
Here. A
I mean,
lease
an oral
for
contract.
under 1 year.
Ah. Okay.
Okay?
It's the way you asked that question, but okay.
Right. But my
Yeah.
point is to once again be careful of these things like always. Writing is usually essential. Like when you get a listing
Right.
contract, you have to put it in writing. But there are exceptions to these rules, and I want people when they take their exam to be very careful not to get caught up with one. the difference in good business practice and the law. Okay.
Mm.
Because if I'm teaching somebody to sell real estate, I'm going to tell you always put it in writing. I don't care if it's under for 1 year. Put it in writing. Put it in writing. But that doesn't make it the law in every situation. That's just intelligent business.
Right.
Okay, and you're getting tested essentially in the law. So you've got to know the
Mm.
difference.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Okay. Now you mentioned something else. You mentioned these two things.
Right.
What's that all about?
What's a void and versus avoidable?
Yes.
Okay. The avoidable contract is basically a contract that a person they can reject it either party can reject it. Uh, and when you talk about valid or no, I'm sorry, a valid contract is usually when a person can either rescind or cancel. Trying to
Well, no,
think.
so you got valid,
Mm-hmm.
void,
Mm-hmm.
and voidable.
And voidable. Right.
Okay. So valid means what? I want to buy your house, right? I want a blue house. The house is blue. We're all
Right.
good. Nothing to gripe about, right?
Right. Right. You agree to the terms. You
What
agree
would
to
be
everything.
what would be voidable?
Voidable is if the house was blue.
Well, I wanted the blue house.
Or you wanted a blue house if the house was green.
Why is that not void? I wanted a blue house. Your house is green. We agreed on a blue house. Why is that voidable and not void?
Because it's not what we agreed upon.
So why isn't it void then?
Mm. Because, well, it's, I see what you're saying. Because you can, it's voided, well, it's voidable because we agreed on the house being blue, but when you came back, it was green.
Right, and you're overthinking it. That's the feeling I
Oh,
get.
yeah.
Think of it
Okay.
this way. I say, Charles, I want a blue house. You're like, great, got a blue house. I show up and I go, Charles, it's green. What the hell, right? Then you turn
Right.
to me and be like, but honestly, the green's kind of nice, right? I'm like, the green is pretty awesome. I kind of like the green. So even though the contract is blue, I
Right.
still want to get the greenhouse. Can I get the greenhouse?
You can.
Yeah, I
Yes.
could say, you know what? I'm totally annoyed that you said blue and it's green, but the green looks pretty cool. So let's just go through with it. And that's
Okay.
voidable because I have the option to go through. If it was
Okay.
void, I would not have the option to go through.
Mm.
Okay? Do you ever watch the show
Okay.
Breaking Bad?
No.
You don't watch any TV, dude. These are like the most famous shows possible. Okay?
Yeah, I don't watch that much TV.
Clearly. Okay? Well, Breaking Bad's a show with the professor who like makes drugs in the bottom of the house and sells them, and he does all these terrible things. I
Hmm.
cannot follow through with buying that house. That's void because
Mm.
there's an illegal purpose there. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Like if I said, Charles, I want the blue house, and you're like, oh, Joe, I forgot to tell you, we make illegal drugs in that house. I can't be like, oh, that's fine, I want that. No. At that point, you can't follow through with that. That's void.
Right, right. Okay.
Okay, do you
I
get the
got it.
difference?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have the blue green, not a big deal. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, let me ask you this: the blue house, right?
Uh-huh. Right,
You come up to me and say, Joe, sign the contract. Sign the contract. I'm going to kill you. There's a gun to my head. I'm scared. I'm petrified. I'm really nervous. I'm freaking out. So I signed the contract. What's the contract now?
uh, uh, would that be bilateral?
No, no. Valid, void, or
Mm.
voidable.
Oh,
So I'm sitting
that.
here with the pen, and you throw a contract in front of my face, gun to my head, the whole thing. Like, when Suge Knight held, what was his name? Vanilla Ice out the window and said,
Yeah.
sign the
Right,
contract. There's a pretty
right.
famous incident where Suge Knight's
Yeah.
saying, sign over your stuff. And he's hanging him over a hotel balcony.
Right, right.
That's a pretty famous story.
Yeah.
Um, was that contract void or voidable or valid?
That was valid
Why is that valid?
because he signed it.
He was hung over a balcony. He had to sign it. He was about to be dropped off a hotel balcony if he didn't sign it.
I know, but I mean, I get where you're going with it, but it's like, is it possible that could be avoidable? But at the same
Yes,
time, okay, okay.
yes, because he could come back and say, I didn't want to sign it. They're like, but sir, you signed it. You're like, yes, because I was going to die if I didn't sign it. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
So is that void or voidable?
that's avoidable.
Why is it not void?
Because if he comes back and say that I didn't want to sign it, he should not have me hanging from the balcony. It's not much you can, in that situation, of course, the court of law, they're going to say, well, you forced him to sign
So why is that not void? Why is that voidable?
because he was in the case 22.
Well, here's where I'm going with this. It's
Okay.
voidable because he may come back and say, I did not want to sign that, da da da. And they're like, wait, look at it. Like, you know what? This actually is a great contract. Your method of me getting signed was a little messed up, but now that I look at it, I kind of like it. I want to follow through with it.
Okay, gotcha.
That's voidable. You got to
I see.
remember, voidable, he has the option to follow through with it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So
Yes.
he's being hung by the balcony and he's signing because he's scared. But when the dust settles, he looks at the contract, he may be like, you know what? This is actually a great deal. I'm pretty happy with it. So him being hung over the balcony should not take away his option to follow through with a contract.
I see what you're saying.
Does that make sense?
Some, yeah, it makes sense.
And what we're talking about here is the word duress.
I remember that.
Yeah, in that situation, you're signing the contract under duress.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So that makes it voidable, not void. Because if it was void, he wouldn't have the option to follow through with it.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
What's the statute of frauds?
Statute of frauds is basically, let's see, it has to be like basically in writing
Good. Perfect.
or, yeah.
Don't make it more complicated than that.
Okay.
What's statute of limitations?
Statute of limitations. Like a like a court order?
No. Statute of
No.
frauds is writing. Statute of limitations has to do with time.
Oh, okay.
Meaning, I sell you my house, there's a defect in it, and I
Hmm.
sold it to you, I should have disclosed it. Can you come back to me 40 years later and be like, hey, remember that chip in the wall? You never told me about it.
No, no, you can't. You can't do that.
Okay. What exactly is the time? It's designated state by state, but you should understand statute of limitations is what says, listen, time has passed. You can't come back 50 years later about that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, good. Are we learning?
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
Good. Now, you mentioned this before, bilateral and unilateral. What's that all about?
Well, bilateral is I want to make sure I try to remember. Bilateral is basically a two-way contract,
Okay.
okay, between the principal and the broker.
And remember, the word bi literally means two.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So, what's an example of a bilateral contract?
Um, John, he's looking to sell his house, and he actually hires Bob, who is to sell his house or to list his house.
So a listing agreement
At least, yeah,
is a
exactly.
bilateral contract.
Right.
Okay. When you get a listing, what are you hired to do?
Um, well, you're hired to list your client's
Well, what does
house.
that literally mean? That all
Was it
sounds very fancy and good, but what does it mean?
you to sell it?
Nope.
He's hiring you.
No, no, no.
No? Okay.
You're hired to find a buyer.
Mm, I got it.
Okay? Important
Okay.
distinction. Okay, so when you list a house, what you're actually doing is looking for a buyer. All right?
Okay.
Okay. And we'll cover that topic another time. But it's important you
Okay.
know that.
Okay.
Okay, so now what's a unilateral contract?
That's basically a one-sided contract.
Okay. What's an example of a unilateral contract?
Let's see. I would say basically, I guess Joe he lost a dog time.
If you're on the street and it says, find Muffy, $500 reward, do you
Yeah.
have to go look for Muffy?
No,
But if you find Muffy, do you get your $500?
you do.
So was that unilateral?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I can see that.
Because only
That's
one
good.
person is promising.
Okay.
Okay, an example in real estate would be an option contract.
Okay.
Okay, so for example, in
All
a
right.
lease option, I rent it to you for a year when you have the option to buy at the end of the year. Okay, you don't
Right.
have to buy at the end of the year, but if you want to buy it, I have to sell it to you. You have the option.
Right.
So that's unilateral.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, so unilateral, one person agrees. The simple example is that lost dog sign. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Any questions?
I'm gonna, no, I'm just gonna write it down
Okay.
so I remember.
And remember, all I'm going to put this on YouTube, so everything I have you'll be able to see again, along with the public who wants to see it.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay,
So
no problem.
yeah, I'm going to put it up there, so you'll
Okay.
have this. You'll be YouTube famous. There
Well,
you go.
I look forward to passing, of course, and I can give you my testimonial.
That'd be awesome. Okay, here we go. All right, appraisal.
Okay. So
What's an appraisal?
basically, I want to say it's let's see, how can I use it in my keywords? Appraisal is the finding out the value.
You're not finding out the value.
Not finding that. Uh, the estimate.
The estimate of value. I'm being
Of
really picky here, but you can see why, 'cause there is a difference.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of what you're saying when you take the exam because of the words that you use, and then how when you take the exam, you have to really be careful.
Right, because what's the true value?
Well, the appraiser, that's their job to kind of find that out.
Nope, they find the estimate of value. You can even say they hypothecate the value. The true
Okay,
value is what somebody's willing to pay for it.
that's true. Right.
Okay? So the
Okay.
appraiser is essentially taking an estimate and a hypothesis of what he thinks buyers would pay for it. But the true value is when you actually get the money.
Mm,
Does that make sense?
yeah, it
I mean,
does.
value is defined as what a ready, willing, and able buyer will pay.
Right.
Okay? I may
Okay.
think your shoes are $50, but until you get that $50, it's all just theory. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, good. Okay, there's four essential elements to value. Do you know what they are?
Are you talking about like determining the value, the like is that what you're talking about? Determining the elements of value,
There's an
elements of
acronym.
value, appraisal. Oh, acronym. Oh, golly, what's acronym?
Do you want me to help you?
Yeah.
Okay, it's two popular ones people use.
Oh, I knew it. Don't tell me. I knew it. Uh, you have scarcity.
Good.
What's it? I remember stud. Scarcity. What's the T? T. Scarcity. Okay, you may have to help me.
Okay, scarcity. How much of there is it? Okay.
Right, right.
Transferability. Can I sell it?
Utilities or
Utility. Good. Can I use it?
endurability?
No.
No. D.
Demand. Do people want it?
Yeah. Okay.
So scarcity. How much of there is it? Transferability. Can you sell it? Utility. Can I use it? And demand. Do people even want it? Those are the four essential elements of value. Okay?
Okay.
And you could use stud. You could use dust, right?
Right.
Or you could use tizada for all I care. As long as you remember these four essential elements of value.
Okay.
Okay?
All
Demand,
right.
utility, scarcity, transferability. Or when I like scarcity, transferability, utility, demand. Okay? Four essential elements of value.
Yep. Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Is cost related to value?
I will say yes.
Why?
Because a lot of times if people,
Do you
if
own a
they,
house right now?
Mhm. I do. Yes.
Okay. I want to buy your house. And let's just take real life terms, me and you. You put your house on the market. Let's
Okay.
call it, 200 grand. I don't know what it's
Right.
really worth, just for example. All right. $200,000.
Right.
You say, Joe, I
Right.
want $200,000. I come back to you and said, what'd you pay for it? What are you going to say?
I'm gonna tell you none of your business.
Exactly. You'd say none of your business. So this is why sometimes I want people to take a step back and think in real life terms. So cost has no relevance to value. Okay. And when I
Okay.
first asked you that, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Cost related to value. But when I put it in real life terms, I said, I want to buy your house. How much you pay for it? You'd be like, none of your business. Right?
All right.
And when you think about it like that, the answer is easy. Cost is not relevant to value. And you may even use those exact terms. You may turn to say, Joe, what I paid for it is not relevant to what I want you to pay for it.
Right.
The other things that are relevant is, well, how much of my property is around here? Can we make the sale happen? Can you use this property? Do people
Right.
want my property? Is my property in demand? Those
Right.
things are relevant to how much you're going to pay for my property, not what I paid for it.
No, that's true. I mean, that goes to the market value, though. That's
Right. These are things that factor into the market value.
right.
Is your property rare? Are you able to sell it? Is it usable? And do people want it? How much you paid for it? None of your business. I mean, think about, for example, if you built your house, if you're a construction guy, you built the house, it's obviously going to cost you a lot less than somebody else. And that's not relevant because you put in the labor to build it.
Yeah.
So cost is not relevant to the value.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand that now.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you may have got it because you built it yourself. You may have got it through a special deal through family, or maybe through foreclosure. There's a multitude of reasons. Okay.
Right.
All right. So now how do we find the value? There's different types of ways to find the value. What are the different types of appraisals you could do?
You could do what you call a market value, right?
I think you're referring to a market data comparison approach.
Yes.
Okay. What else could you do?
You could do, trying to think, market data. What's the other one? Cost?
Good. Cost approach. Excellent.
Cost approach. And then also you could do uh, well, what about the cost repairs and approach? Well,
That is the cost approach.
capitalization. Okay,
Oh,
capitalization. No,
capitalization approach is another one.
approach.
Good.
That's to do with the income. And then also you can do the cross multiplier,
Here's what you're getting at.
cross rent
Yeah, you were
multiplier,
talking about the capital.
capitalization,
Right, that's one you
income
mentioned,
approach.
which was absolutely correct.
hmm
Capital. Ooh, typing too fast here. Okay, so you got the market data comparison approach.
Right.
Cost approach, really full name cost replacement
Approach.
approach.
Yeah.
Okay, gross rate multiplier and capitalization approach.
Right.
May also see that as well. Okay,
Okay.
you own a house, right?
Yes.
You want to find the value. Okay, which one of these approaches are you going to use?
The market data
Why?
compare because it's going to give you what you want to get is find the value of the properties that are surrounding you in your market area. It's going to give that market data.
Right, and people use something in this approach called comps, comparables.
Okay.
Real simple. The house next to me is 400 grand. My house is like that one. My house is worth around 400 grand. Simple. Is it that simple in real life? No, but that's the gist of it. Okay.
Right.
Next, you have the cost replacement approach.
Right.
When
Okay.
would you use that one?
You would use that if you're dealing with like land, like to find the land value. Um,
Yeah, you could use
well,
comparison for that one too.
okay.
You just look at the land next door.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How would you appraise a library?
When you use a replacement
Why can't you
approach,
use comps for a library?
uh, well, I mean, you would use the most what is the most commonly used appraisal or something like that, like schools and
Well,
libraries, all that,
here's my
right?
point. Things like library and schools, there's usually
Uh-huh.
only one per community.
Okay.
So you don't, it's not like a house where you have five other libraries on the same street.
Right. Right.
So you can't really use comps.
Okay.
The next library is in a whole nother town that has a whole nother set of parameters.
Right. Right.
So you would look at how much would it cost to replace it brand new.
Okay.
Okay? And those are
Okay.
called special purpose properties.
Mm, okay.
Okay? When would you use these others two? Gross rate multiplier, capitalization income approach.
What would I use those for?
Yes.
Um, Say if it was the gross rental multiplier, that would be more like for if I'm not mistaken, that's more like I don't know, post office or some type of building.
Nope, that would be
Uh,
better for the income approach.
okay, okay.
This is better for like a rental
Uh,
property.
Like apartments or.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, you would use that for like apartments because when you buy an apartment, do you care about the value of the building?
No, I want to know how many people are in the building that's renting.
Okay, so it's an important point. So you don't care about the value of the building, and you really
Hmm.
don't care about the rental amount either. What you care about is the relationship between the two. Okay, you care about how that price relates to the rent.
Right.
Because if somebody's renting for $500 a month, but it's a multi-million dollar property, that doesn't make sense. But if somebody's renting out for $500 a month and it was some really cheap, affordable property you could pick up for like 50 grand, all right, maybe it makes a little more sense.
Right. Right.
Okay. And
Okay.
for people who want to figure out how to do the gross rent multiplier, I have a bunch of videos that you could see that does the math on the gross rent multiplier. It's just price divided by rent. Okay. And we're not going to do it here because we have a number of videos where I go over that at nauseum. Okay. Just look it up on my channel.
Okay.
All right. Capitalization income approach is more for what?
That's more for, I guess you figuring out, how can I say? Like when it's, that's more like for not rentals. I just said it. Dang it.
Well, what does this word mean
Let's,
to you?
mhm. That's more like a, say, post office or, I don't know, a
How about for
shopping
things
center.
like a shopping center?
Okay.
Because now the income is relevant to the value of that property. If that building brings a lot of income, you'll pay a lot more for it, right?
Right.
This approach figures out just how much more. And obviously, this is a little more of a complicated approach. Okay?
But is that that approach? But that is the approach for something like the annual net income and
Right, all
all that.
that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so the capital income approach factors in the income of the building as per the value. Obviously, more popular with commercial real estate.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
What is depreciation?
Depreciation is basically the loss of, I guess you could say, the value of a building or home over time.
Okay? Loss in value from any cause.
Mm, okay.
All right? Keep it real simple.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to end with this one, right? We've actually gone over a lot of material. Time flies, right?
Yeah, it does.
I know. So let's go over this. What are the three types of depreciation?
Uh, the three types of. Are you talking about like the effective age or
Nope.
no, nothing like that? Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like the no. Oh, you
What's
mean
it
like the
called when a
physical?
house loses value? Cause.
Physical,
Okay, good, good. Now, okay, so
physical. Yeah.
what are they?
It's the physical depreciation, right?
Okay,
Okay.
there's two more.
The functional,
Good,
uh,
excellent,
mhm. And then it's the economical.
good. Boom, right there. Economic obsolescence, functional obsolescence, and physical deterioration. Okay,
Yeah.
what's this one all about?
The economic, uh, that's almost kind of like a house that is next to a, uh, I don't know, like a gas station.
Good. So let's make it simple. Causes
Mhm.
outside of the property lines. Okay,
Yeah.
what's this one?
Uh, what's the financial? I mean
Functional.
the
Functional.
functional. Functional, in other words, say if it was like I don't know, a 5 bedroom, but it had 1 bath.
Okay. So to put it very simply, it is not functional.
Mm-hmm.
See, sometimes just keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
And physical deterioration,
The wear and tear.
perfect. Yeah, your house is falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically what I'm trying to get at with these things, and something you learn in the course of this webinar, is keep it simple. Don't overthink it. For example, when I said what is not relevant to value, I said cost. When you were thinking more complicated, you didn't get it right. But when you thought
Right.
in real simple terms, like, yeah, I'm not telling you how much I paid for my house. You're like, okay, that makes sense. Cost is not relevant.
Right.
I mean, just keep it really simple and you'll be fine. And as we close this webinar, I want you to keep that in mind. Always try to think of everything in its simplest terms. Trying to explain complicated words with complicated definitions just makes things complicated. So as a general rule, what I'd like you to do is try to explain this stuff as if you're talking to a 10-year-old.
Okay.
And if you could do that, that means you're able to simplify it and you truly understand it.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. You got any other questions for me?
No, not right now. No.
All right. So with that being said, this is Joe from Prep Agent, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'm always open to constructive criticism and suggestions. And that being said, I'll talk to you later, Charles.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Once again, Joe from prepagent.com, and talk to everybody soon.